Hello everybody, this video tutorial is to show you how to get to myOn and how to use myOn so that way you have access to books no matter if you're on campus at North Vista or if you're at home at your house or your grandma's house, you'll have access to these books. They're pretty nifty software that has a really large range of books available on it. The first thing is you go to your classing page. You'll notice mine looks a little bit differently, but that's because I logged in as a teacher, not as a student. But you are looking for this app right here, the purpley blue color one that has myOn on it. Click on it to launch this program. When you go through that app, the first thing you will see is this quiz about how you feel about different topics, different genres. If you really like graphic novels and cartoons, the second row right here, you will go and click the very smiley guy. This guy on your far right means you really like this type of book. This guy right here, not the middle, this guy second to the right, you like the book. It might not be your top favorite book, but you do like to read books in this area. We have our middle column, which is you don't like it, you don't hate it. It's okay. That's what this middle column is, where the neutral is where it starts. And then if you're not a huge fan of it, you'd rather not read it, you will click on this guy right here. And if you really am not a fan of graphic novels and you don't want any graphic novels to show up in your recommendations, you'll click this guy. What this screen is showing is it's giving you options that it will help customize your recommendations so that way your recommendations aren't just random things that pop up. They're things that you would actually like and things that you are actually interested in. So it is important to be relatively truthful in how you feel about these different things. Next, click Save. This makes sure it saves all your changes so that way it can make sure that it takes your preferences and applies them. After that comes a short quiz. There's about 20 fill in the blank questions here. And this kind of gives us a feel of where you should be reading at. This quiz isn't we're not looking to see if you get everything right or everything wrong. We just want to see where you're at. So take your time and do your best on it so that way we can make sure that your book recommendations are the best fit for you, that they're not too hard, not too easy, we're going for the just right book. So after you take your quiz, you'll come to this screen. Our bicycle rider right here, Mr. Moped, he's going to show us our goal of how far we want to read each week. And then below it, it will show you how much time you've actually spent reading this week, how many books you finished, and how many pages you've read. Depending on your grade and depending on your level, these might vary a little bit. Depending on your grade, you might be looking for more pages read than books finished. But this is just a handy tool to let you know where you're looking, or sorry, how much you've read this week. Also, that quiz gave us a Lexile level, so this will help your teachers help you pick books that are on your level. So this is very similar, another way to look at your AR reading level, and it's a handy tool for teachers to know about. So these are our options that we have at the top of our myOn screen. You'll see library news projects along the very top, and then underneath it we'll have recommended, browse, my list, and search. All of these we're going to talk about in just a second, but just be aware that all of these can help you find different books. So when you click on the recommended tab, this is what's going to show up based on the selections that you made at the beginning. These will be books that, based on the quiz, that the myOn thinks that you might like. And this is why it's important to be truthful when you select your books, so that way you don't end up with a bunch of books you're not a fan of, not going to read. Next comes browse. This is more open-ended. This is about the equivalent to walking around the library looking at the different shelves. Since we can't go into the library and look in the 500 books for animals, we can go and click right here. And that will show us all the books that it has in the system about animals. If we wanted to learn about math books, we could click right here. If you're a fan of scary and gross, you'd click right here, so on and so forth. All of these are different things, different topics that you might enjoy to read about. So, moving on, the My List and bundles, that's kind of the same as a playlist on YouTube. So if you really like that book, you could add it to your list. You can heart it to make sure that you can always get back to it, and you can get back to it in that spot in the My List. Like I said, it's very similar to a YouTube playlist. So, along the top, we saw those different topics. One of the ones was news, and they have that on there because you can actually read a student newspaper through myOn. And this is an example of one of them from a couple weeks ago. So, we looked at this motorcycle guy just a minute ago, and underneath it, we actually have some of those recommendations too. So before you even have to go in and search for anything, you can look for recommended books right under your trackers. So, this is a brief, really quick tutorial on myOn. It's a great resource to use for e-learning, for virtual days, for any time that you might need a book and can't get a book from the library. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all use it this year. If you have any questions, please don't be afraid to email me at csimpson@fsd1.org, and I will do my best to help you in any way I can.